The Madness of Private Ortheris by Rudyard Kipling. My friends Mulvaney and Ortheris had gone on a shooting expedition for one day. Leroyd was still in hospital recovering from fever picked up in Burma. They sent me an invitation to join them, and were genuinely pained when I brought beer, almost enough beer to satisfy 2 privates of the line and me. "'Twasn't for that we bid you welcome, sir," said Mulvaney sulkily. "'Twas for the pleasure av your company." Ortheris came to the rescue with E192, "won't be none the worse for bringin' liquor," with Roman 999, "We ain't a file o' ducks were bloomin' Tommies, ye can't Chris Hirishman, and airs your very good eelth." We shot all the forenoon and killed 2 periadogs, 4 green parrots, sitting 1 kite by the burning out, 1 snake, flying 1 mud turtle, and 8 crows. Game was plentiful. Then we sat down to tiffin bullmate and bran bread. Mulvaney called it be the side of the river, and took pot shots at the crocodiles in the intervals of cutting up the food with our only pocket knife. Then we drank up all the beer and threw the bottles into the water, and fired at them. After that we eased belts and stretched ourselves on the warm sand, and smoked. We were too lazy to continue shooting. Ortheris heaved a big sigh as he lay on his stomach with his head between his fists, then he swore quietly into the blue sky. "What's that for?" said Mulvaney. "Have ye not drunk enough? Tottenham Court Road and a gal I fancied there. What's the good of sodgerin'?" "Ortheris, me son," said Mulvaney hastily, "'tis more than likely you've got throuble in your inside. With the beer I feel that way myself when my liver gets rusty." Ortheris heaved a big sigh. P192 to list. "I am a Tommy, a bloomin' Atana dog-stealin' Tommy, with a number instead of a decent name. What's the good o' me if I 'ad a stayed at 'ome? I might a married that gal, and a kep a little shop in the Hammersmith ig s. Ortheris, practical taxidermist, with a stuffed fox like they as in the Halesbury dairies in the Winder, and a little case of blue and yaller glasses, and a little wife to call shop. When the doorbell rung as it is I'm ony, a Tommy, a bloomin' god-forsaken beer-swillin' Tommy, rest on your harms, verst stan at heath shun verse harms. Right and left hand slow march alt front, rest on your harms, verst with blank cartridge load, and that's the end o' me." He was quoting fragments from funeral parties' orders. "Stop ut," shouted Mulvaney, "when you've fired into nothin' as often as me over a better man than yourself. You will not make a mock av thim orders. 'Tis worse than whistlin' the Dead March in barracks. And you full as a tick and the sun cool, and all in all I take shame for you. You're no better than a pageant, and your fearin' parties and your glasses want you stop ut sore." What could I do? Could I tell Ortheris 194 anything that he did not know of the pleasures of his life? I was not a chaplain, nor a subaltern, and Ortheris had a right to speak, as he thought fit. "Let him run, Mulvaney," I said. "It's the beer." "No, 'tisn't the beer," said Mulvaney. "I know what's common. He's tuck this way now and agin, and it's bad for. I'm fond av the boy." Indeed, Mulvaney seemed needlessly anxious, but I knew that he looked after Ortheris in a fatherly way. Let me talk," said Ortheris dreamily. "Diu, stop your parrot screamin' of a art day, when the cage is accakin, is poor little pink toes off." Mulvaney. "Pink toes, die mane to say you've pink toes under your bullswools, ye blandenderin." Mulvaney gathered himself together for a terrific denunciation. "Schoolmistress pink toes, how much bass with the label did that raven child drink?" "'Tain't bass," said Ortheris, "it's a bitter beer, nor that it's homesickness. Hark to him, and he goin' home in the sherappies in the inside av 4 months. I don't care, it's all one to me 'ow diu know. I ain't 'fraid o' dyin' for I gets my discharge papers." He recommenced in a sing-song voice the orders. "He's always tuck this way when he's been checked over much by the childher. They make sergeants nowadays that an havin' nothin' to do. I can't make ut out anyways." "Well, what does it matter? Let him talk himself through." Ortheris began singing a parody of the Ramrod Corps, full of cheerful allusions to battle, murder, and sudden death. He looked out across the river as he sang, and his face was quite strange to me. Mulvaney caught me by the elbow to ensure attention. There's everything. 'Tis some sort av fit that's on him. I've seen ut twill hood him all this night, and in the middle av it hell get out av his cot, and go rackin' in the rack for his quarterments. Thin hell come over to me and say, 'I'm goin' to Bombay, answer for me in the mornin'. Thin me and him will fight as we've done before him to go, and me too hood him, and so well both come on the books for disturbin' in barracks. I've belted him, and I've bruck his head, and I've talked to him. But 'tis no manner av use 196 when the fits on him. He's as good a boy as ever stepped when his mind's clear. I know what's common though this night in barracks. Lord send he doesn't loose on me when I rise to knock him down tease, that's in my mind day and night. This put the case in a much less pleasant light, and fully accounted for Mulvaney's anxiety. He seemed to be trying to coax Ortheris out of the fit, for he shouted down the bank where the boy was lying. Listen now, you with the poor pink toes and the glass eyes, did you swim the Irrawaddy at night behin me as a boy should, or were you hidden under a bed, as you was at Ahmed Kale? This was at once a gross insult and a direct lie, and Mulvaney meant it to bring on a fight, but Ortheris seemed shut up in some sort of trance. He answered slowly without a sign of irritation in the same cadenced voice as he had used for his fearing party orders. I swum the Irrawaddy in the night, as you know, for to take the town of Lungtungpan naked and without fear hand, where I was at Ahmed Kale, you know, and 4 bloomin' pathans know too. But that was summat to do, and I didn't think o' dyin' now I am sick to go amigo ome no, I ain't mamma sick, because my uncle brung me up, but I'm sick for London again, 197, sick for the sounds of and the sights of and the stinks of Orangeapeel, and hasphalt and gas carmin in over Vauxhall Bridge, sick for the rail goin' down to Box Ill with your gal on your knee, and a new clay pipe in your face, that in the Strand lights where you knows every one in the copper that takes you up is a old friend that tuck you up before, when you was a little smitchy boy lying loose tween the Temple and the dark harches, no bloomin' guard mountain, no bloomin' Rottenstone, nor khaki and yourself your own master, with a gal to take and see the humaners practice in Ahukin dead, corpses out of the Serpentine o' Sundays, and I left all that for to serve the widder beyond the seas where there ain't no women and there ain't no liquor worth 'avin' and there ain't nothin' to see nor do nor say, nor feel, nor think Lord love you Stanley Ortheris, but you're a bigger bloomin' fool than the rest o' the regiment and Mulvaney wired together. There's the widder sittin' at 'ome with a gold crowned on eed, and high Stanley Ortheris the widder's property, a rotten fool. His voice rose at the end of the sentence, and he wound up with a 6-shot Anglo-vernacular oath. Mulvaney said nothing, but looked at me as if he expected that I could bring peace to poor Ortheris, troubled. What's the use of grousing there, and speaking against the widow? I didn't said Ortheris, s'elp me God, I never said a word agin and I wouldn't not, if I was to desert this minute. Here was my opening. Well, you meant to anyhow, what's the use of crackingun, for nothing would you slip it now, if you got the chance. Ani try me, said Ortheris, jumping to his feet, as if he had been stung. Mulvaney jumped too. What are you going to do, said he. Help Ortheris down to Bombay or Karachi, whichever he likes. You can report that he separated from you before tiffin, and left his gun on the bank here. I am to report that, I said Mulvaney slowly. Very well, if Ortheris manes to desert now, and will desert now, and you saw who have been a friend to me and to him, will help him to I Terence Mulvaney on my oath, which I've never bruck yet, will report as you say, but 199 here. He stepped up to Ortheris, and shook the stock of the fowling piece in his face. Your fists, help you Stanley Ortheris if ever I come across you again. I don't care, said Ortheris, I am sick o' this dog's life, give me a chance, don't play with me, let me go. Strip, said I, and change with me, and then I'll tell you what to do. I hoped that the absurdity of this would check Ortheris, but he had kicked off his ammunition boots, and got rid of his tunic, almost before I had loosed my shirt collar. Mulvaney gripped me by the arm. The fit's on him, the fit's workin' on him, still by my honour and soul, we shall be accessory to a disartion, yet only 28 days as you say, sore, or 56, but think o' the shameth black shame to him and me. I had never seen Mulvaney so excited. But Ortheris was quite calm, and as soon as he had exchanged clothes with me and I stood up a private of the line, he said shortly, now, come on, what next? I mean fair, what must I do to get out o' this air hell? I told him that if he would wait for 2 or 3 hours near the river, I would ride into the station, and come back with 100 rupees. He would 200 with that money in his pocket walk to the nearest side station on the line about 5 miles away, and would there take a first-class ticket for Karachi, knowing that he had no money on him. When he went out shooting, his regiment would not immediately wire to the seaports, but would hunt for him in the native villages near the river further. No one would think of seeking a deserter in a first-class carriage at Karachi. He was to buy white clothes and ship if he could on a cargo steamer. Here he broke in. If I helped him to Karachi, he would arrange all the rest. Then I ordered him to wait where he was until it was dark enough for me to ride into the station, without my dress being noticed. Now God in his wisdom has made the heart of the British soldier, who is very often an unlicked ruffian, as soft as the heart of a little child, in order that he may believe in and follow his officers into tight and nasty places. He does not so readily come to believe in a civilian. but when he does he believes implicitly, and like a dog. I had had the honour of the friendship of Private Ortheris at intervals for more than 3 years, and we had dealt with each other as man by man. Consequently, he considered that all my words were true and not spoken lightly. Mulvaney and I left him in the high grass near the riverbank, and went away, still keeping to the 201 high grass, towards my horse. The shirt scratched me horribly. We set off at the double, and found him plunging about wildly through the grass. P201 to list. We waited nearly 2 hours for the dusk to fall, and allow me to ride off. We spoke of Ortheris in whispers, and strained our ears to catch any sound from the spot where we had left him, but we heard nothing except the wind in the plumegrass. "I've brock his head," said Mulvaney earnestly, "time and again I've nearly kilt him with the belt, and yet I can't knock thim fits out av his soft head. No, and he's not soft, for he's reasonable and likely by nature. What is ut his breedin', which is nothin', or his education, which he never got. You that think ye know things, answer me that." But I found no answer. I was wondering how long Ortheris in the bank of the river would hold out, and whether I should be forced to help him to desert, as I had given my word. Just as the dusk shut down, and with a very heavy heart I was beginning to saddle up my horse, we heard wild shouts from the river. The devils had departed from Private Stanley Ortheris, No. 22,639, B Company. The loneliness, the dusk, and the waiting had driven them out. As I had hoped, we set off at the double, and found him plunging about wildly through the grass with his coat off me. Coat off, I mean he was calling for us like a madman. The rasp of his own greyback shirt and the squeak of his boots seemed to bring him to himself. He put his hands before his eyes and said, "What was it? I ain't mad, I ain't sunstruck, and I've been and gone and said and been and gone and done. What ave I been and done?" What have you done?" said Mulvaney. "You've disgraced yourself, though." "That's no matter, you've disgraced be company and worst. Av all you've disgraced me that taught you how for to walk abroad like a man win. You was a dirty little fish-backed, little whimperin' little recruity, as you are now Stanley Ortheris." Ortheris said nothing for a while, then he unslung his belt heavy, with the badges of 6 regiments that his own had lain with, and handed it over to Mulvaney. "I'm too little for to mill you," Mulvaney said he, "and you've struck me before, but you can take and cut me in two with this air if you like." Mulvaney turned to me. I left, and on my way home thought a good deal over Ortheris in particular, and my friend Private Thomas Atkins, whom I love in general. But I could not come to any conclusion of any kind whatever,